Hey everybody, Coach here. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes and joining me here today. What we're talking about today is going pro. You know, for the most part, this channel is 100% dedicated to you DIYers out there and coaching you through landscape projects and ideas that you can do it yourself and save a lot of money. But today, after seeing several posts on many platforms, I've decided to help those out who don't want to go DIY, that need a professional's help. And how do you go about getting the right one for you and the project you have in mind? Now, many people don't do DIY for many reasons. I mean, you can kind of imagine some of them. Some are pure just physical limitations. Maybe someone's handicapped in some way and they just can't do DIY stuff. Others might be schedules. You know, you got 4 little ones under the age of 8 and you're just not going to have time to dedicate yourself on a regular basis for the next 6, 8, or 12 weeks to do the job yourself. And you know something? I get it. I really do. I know that people can do things that maybe they've never done before, but there are those situations where you just need to hire the pro for managing your time better and maybe getting a better result and maybe a little bit more. You know, for those of you who have a bigger budget capabilities, then maybe the pro is for you. Well, this week, that's what our topic is. We're going pro. We're going to talk about how to hire a landscape contractor and do it the right way so the fit is right. So, are you ready to get started? Let's get going. Maestro, do me a favor. Just roll that beautiful intro, please. Hey, I'm Matt. You can call me Coach. Every week I bring to you landscape tips and tricks, design concepts, theories, and step-by-step processes so you can tackle landscape projects yourself, get professional results that you want, be a heck of a lot more self-reliant in this day and age, and in the whole process, save thousands and thousands of dollars. You know, for the past 20 plus years, I have been a successful landscape designer, contractor, retail nursery manager, college educated and ornamental hort. And I think what that does, guys, is I bring a lot of knowledge and experience to you, the new, modern, self-reliant homeowner of today. So like I said in the intro, the whole channel here was to give people the opportunity, give people the education where you could do things yourself. Am I right? If you've watched any more than just one video on this channel, you know that I'm a big proponent of doing things yourself and gaining that self-reliance and confidence as being someone who can, you know, work within themselves and not just hand it off to somebody else. Not only do you get a lot more value out of what you've done, but it also just feels good to be that successful, self-reliant homeowner. But there are those folks out there that, for whatever reason, like I've mentioned, they're just not going to be that DIYer. It is not in their wheelhouse and they're not going to do it. And so here today, we're talking about how do we find the right contractor? How do we go about searching for it? And then how do we mesh up and eventually make that decision to hire? You know, what I'd like you to do is start thinking about local. Where are your resources? You know, in this day and age, we don't have, at least the book doesn't get delivered anymore called the Yellow Pages, at least as far as I know. And yes, there are local papers still, and some of them maybe have, you know, classified directories that have services advertised. That's how I got started. You know, I advertised in the local rag paper and the Yellow Pages. And eventually, time has evolved now to where, you know, landscape contractors worth their salt. They have good websites, they have a online presence, and they advertise basically through word of mouth and those means. So start there. We can start Googling in your spare time and find out who is working out there, do a little bit of review, you know, look at those kinds of things in a more technological, knowledgeable perspective and move from there. I always suggest that if you have a circle of influence where you live, you have a circle of friends or family or coworkers, start putting your feelers out and seeing if somebody has a good recommendation. The last 10 years of my career was based around this, word of mouth. and it always worked really well. As a matter of fact, it almost guaranteed more work than doing the old advertising and website stuff. First, let's look at it in this way. Hiring a landscape contractor, a landscape professional, is not an event, but it's a process. And it's not something that you do on a Saturday afternoon and expect somebody to be there Monday morning to start your project. This is not how it works. Many videos ago, I mentioned that winter is the greatest time of year to plan a landscape project. Not to start, but to plan. And that is when you're going to find, even in some of the 12-month-a-year landscape areas, will be the slowest part of your local landscape contract professionals' year. Even if they're still working, it's going to be the slower part of the year. The same goes for the northern latitudes around the country, continent, and world. This is when these guys slow way down and they do other side stuff like snow plowing and other stuff, but they're available for consult, interview, and appointments. And this is when you really launch. Now say, for instance, you get the bug. You've got this project, you're itching to go. Here it is in April, and you want to get it going before the end of the month. Chances are, probably a 95% chance, that ain't going to happen. Because anybody worth their salt who's a successful businessman is going to be what they call out a number of weeks or months. There is one contractor that I know of in the Sacramento, California area who is years out because his niche market is multi-million-dollar landscapes. And he is in such demand that he's not available, or you can get on the list type of thing. So we want to start to plan out these landscape projects weeks and months in advance. I often suggest reaching out and starting to set appointments right after the winter holidays, right after the first of the year, on the hopes that you will be able to get on board with somebody that you're comfortable with later in the spring. And I'm talking 60, 90, 120 days later. I can recall in my own business that I would get calls for service, and when I called people back and set appointments, I would go visit with them, and they were really almost, they weren't in tears, but they were really dejected and kind of shell-shocked that I'd love to work for you if you can hang on 6, 8, or 12 weeks down the road, and sometimes even longer. People don't understand that concept because they don't run in that world. They're used to going to the grocery store and getting what they need, going to the auto parts store, picking up what you need and go home, ordering something on Amazon Prime, and it's there in less than 48 hours. That's the world a lot of people run in, but that's not the contracting world. Okay, understand this too. Within the landscape contracting world, there are sub-niches that are involved in this world. My niche, when I was practicing, I would be the residential landscape makeover. That was my niche. I would go into 90% of the time, I was going into existing yards and taking out what was there and putting in the new. That was my market. A lot of guys in my area only wanted to deal with brand new yards, going back into that bare dirt lot and then creating a landscape. Still others were, heck, all they did was masonry type of things, where they built walls, they did outdoor kitchens out of stone. That was their niche. So considering what project you have, is it kind of a general landscape project or very specific? And that way, when you reach out, you know you're going to reach out to people who are specialists in that. Now, there are the jack of all trades. I mean, I kind of fit that mold a little bit, but I shied away from some things. I wasn't big on doing big concrete pours. I didn't build super patio structures, okay? I knew exactly where my niche was, and I knew my limitations. And anything that involved big walls or big patio pours and stuff like that, I had subcontractors that I used on a regular basis. Okay, so you've done a little bit of due diligence. We're at the first part of the year, and maybe you have some of those home and garden shows that are out and around the country that time of year. You know, everybody likes to start anew at the beginning of the year, so those garden shows become quite popular. So if you do, buy yourself a couple of tickets and go see some of the landscapers that are probably have booths there and are advertising their services. There's nothing better than to be able to stand in front and actually talk to someone from the company you may or may not consider hiring. And you can get a feel. You know, one of the things that I did as a contractor, I guarantee you a lot of other guys and gals did it too, is when we first start talking to a potential client, I guarantee you, I'm interviewing you as much as you're interviewing me. And I want to know what kind of a person you are. Are you someone that's going to be easy to work for? Do you communicate well? You know, do you speak well? Do you flaunt your checkbook size? You know, there's certain red flags in my world where, okay, I think I can work with this person, but we'll just kind of wait and see. Or, yeah, I do want to work for those people because they're just dialed. They're dialed in. They understand what budgets look like. They know how much this stuff costs, and it makes working this type of work so much easier. Okay, so you've gone to a home and garden show. Maybe you found a couple of folks there that you'd like to see. You put down your name and number and you've set an appointment. Maybe you found someone else on a website and you're talking to that people. I would suggest talking to 3 companies as an average if you have that many people in your area. Set appointments. Here's the first hurdle. As a consumer, guys, here's the first hurdle those contractors need to meet. Punctuality. Punctuality is one of the biggest hurdles a professional can get over on a consumer because they need to show you your time is more valuable than theirs. Now, with that said, if they show up on time, that's a good indicator. But if they no-show, if they don't show at all, they don't call, they don't reschedule, because life gets in the way sometimes and running a business often gets in the way too. If they don't show, then my old adage is, no show, no way. No way am I going to do business with a person that does that. If they couldn't make it, you should have at least a 30-minute courtesy call ahead of appointment time with a valid, reasonable explanation. Those kinds of things are just as much professional as showing up on time. Would we agree? Now, once you get there, once the two of you have joined at your property and you've shown them the area of what you want to have done, there's a certain threshold, again, another hurdle that contractor should be able to meet, and that is chemistry. What is the chemistry between you two? We have all come across folks that you can tell in 30 seconds the chemistry is just not there. I had some guys in the business where I used to practice in Northern California, and I kind of called them bossy the cows. They would come in and they would tell a customer what they wanted. Now, I would come in maybe the second or third in line, and all I would hear is this, oh yeah, John Doe came in and holy crap, how does that guy stay in business? My God, the way he talks to people, yeah, or talks down to people. You are going to find some contractors that are like that, you know, especially the egotistical ones, maybe that don't need your work, but they gotta, you know, do the dog and pony show and go talk to you, okay? Beware of those contractors. I strongly urge. You have to have some symbiotic, forming business relationship going on in that first appointment. And go with this. Don't go with this. If your gut says there's something wrong here, there probably is, and it's time to pass on that person. Do not get bullied into a particular situation where you're going to be writing checks for thousands of dollars and you're not comfortable. What's the point in that? You should enjoy this landscape journey and not stare at the ceiling at night wondering, oh my God, what have I done? That is not in the wheelhouse of hiring a good landscape professional. Okay, now, I practice in California, and what I want to impress upon you now is every state in our United States, I can't speak for Canada and I can't speak for other countries, but many, many states in our country, they require state licensing for landscape contractors. You have to meet a certain threshold of experience, you have to pass tests, and you have to prove to the state that you're a competent and knowledgeable professional before you can get a license and go out there and practice in people's homes. You know, you can't just, I saw an advertisement on one of the platforms, is I'm going to start a landscape business, where should I start? And I read this thing and I just went, how about become a professional first? You know, when you're sitting down with that person, ask a couple of questions. And this is what I used to get from the more knowledgeable consumers that I did business with. One, how long you been in business? Number two, what type of education do you have in this business or in the green world? Three, how many employees do you have? What language do they speak? What language do they speak? Because the person sitting in front of you selling you a job may not be the ones that show up and start working. You know, do they speak the language? That is, I don't know about you, if I'm writing a check for $20,000, I want to be able to go out and talk to the foreman and maybe even the laborers and say, how's it going? What are we doing? What have we run across? What problems is there? And how can we move through those problems with a language that we all understand? Not Pig Latin and sign language, okay? Very, very important. So, are you licensed? Are you bonded? Do you have business insurance and liability insurance? And more importantly, on a very personal level, you need to find out if they're carrying workers' comp insurance, which is, I'm pretty sure, at least in the USA, that's almost a national law in every state that I know of. I'm going to put a link down below here, a little link to a website that you can go and peruse all 50 states, you know, in our United States, and it'll tell you exactly what the requirements are for landscape professionals. Check it out. Okay, so in this initial appointment, how did you feel? You know, you have to come away with some kind of a feeling. Do you have a business card in hand that you can look at? Is there a state license number advertised on the business card? Go online, look at the state license board wherever your state is, and check out that number or check out the person's name. Sometimes it's listed as business, license number, and name. And you can go in there, see if there's been any complaints filed, see if there's been any issues legal-wise. Has the license ever been suspended for some type of impropriety or whatever? Okay, so you can see that the contractor has had to meet several hurdles along the way. And if you value your resources that you're putting towards this, I hope you've asked each and every one of them. It's very, very important. So when they've come away from this appointment, how's the chemistry? Do you feel like you could do business with one of these people? You know, then make a decision. Take action. If you're really going to move this thing forward, don't go interview 12 freaking companies. You know, your gut told you to set appointments for these three. Unless all three turned out to be bozos, you should be able to make the decision to move forward with your project with one of them. Now, one thing I want to impress upon you, not all contractors are landscape designers. Let me say that again. Not all contractors are landscape designers. Most contractors, they don't have that creative artsy-fartsy side. They are mostly installers of people's designs. And I've run across a lot of them. I had a God-given talent where I was able to do kind of both. I was a good landscape designer, and then I had the skill set to turn around and take that design and bring it to life. Not everybody does that, and it's okay because not everybody is artsy. You know, they don't know how to put that vision down on paper, present that vision to a client, and then bring that vision to life through construction. Not everybody does. So make sure you know, okay, I'm going to hire Joe, but Joe is not a designer, and Joe is telling me I need to go to Suzanne, who is the designer, either on staff at their company or someone separate. So now you know what game you're playing here. You're going to talk to Suzanne now. Suzanne is going to design it and draw it up and then turn around and give it to Joe, who's going to put it in. So from one of those three, it's time to get estimates. There's going to be costs on what you want to do, obviously. Someone's not going to put this landscape in for free. You're going to have designer costs, which can range anywhere from a simple little job of maybe $400 or $500 all the way up to $4,000, you know, and more. Will they have to pull permits and do things in this landscape project? Then you're going to have a contract drawn up. And this is where the rubber meets the road. We do not enter into a landscape project of any size without a prior written agreement or contract. You are, in this day and age, foolish to do so. And there's a lot of people that have documented on Reddit and other forums of, I got screwed. Now what do I do? Document, document, document. Now, in the state of California, we had to have a state-approved landscape contract used on any job that we did. And it was sometimes a little overkill, but it really protected me as the contractor and the consumer as well. So make sure that when you get estimates and a contract is drawn up, that there's line item work mentioned, and that when you come down to the almighty dollar, work is done before payment is made. More work is done before more payment is made. We call them progress payments. In your state, you'll have regulations as far as what type of a deposit can be made for the job, kind of securing your place in line to have the job done. Every state might be different, but I never suggest putting more than 10% of the cost of the job out, or no more than $1,000, period. Then as the job progresses, that's when I used to say, okay, after the first day of demolition, I'm going to collect a chunk of cheddar, and that's going to be my working capital to start. And then when I finished the underground work, I got another check. When I got the plants in the ground, I got another check. And then at the end of the job, I got a final payment after they were satisfied, signed off on the job, and we were done. But I never got 50% up front before I put a shovel in the ground. And you shouldn't either. Don't be cutting checks for 50% of a job and no one's even touched your property yet. That's foolish. That's bad business. So the acid test of signing a contract, getting on the books, the acid test of a good decision is you're comfortable. You're not nervous. You're not drinking glasses of wine to settle yourself down. You know, do I have the right person? If you're having to do that, consider reconsidering. Oftentimes when you enter into a contract, you have a 72-hour get-out clause. You know, that buyer's remorse, kind of like buying a car type of thing. You get that buyer's remorse, you can cancel out of those things, at least in my state, within 72 hours. After that, you guys are legally bound. You know, you owe that contractor the job. You really do. Now, I'm sure there's ways you can get out of it, but I didn't do business like that. I never had to browbeat anybody to do landscape projects. But I did have a couple of people that had changes in their world in that 72 hours, and they had to bow out. And we rescheduled the jobs later in the year. So that can happen as well. So let's recap just a little bit. First, you're going to do some due diligence on your own. Right at your kitchen table, in your bed at night, you're going to Google and find out some companies that are local. You're going to look at some reviews, look at some pictures, and kind of get a sense of what's out there. Maybe you're going to go to home and garden shows and you're going to actually talk to people. Maybe you're going to pick up the phone and set some appointments. Those appointments are going to be met with those hurdles I talked about. Punctuality, communication, chemistry, vibe, experience, etc. Those hurdles have to be met. Now, it does not mean that someone just starting out in the business isn't good and they won't just bend over backwards to please you. You just have to make your own good, solid decision. I suggest interviewing 3 and hiring 1, okay? And I think if you do that, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what's out there and one person that's going to be able to satisfy you correctly. We are going to enter into business with a contractor with a good written legal documentation, a contract, one that's going to really hold up for you and hold up for him. And then you're going to make sure you hold that contractor's feet to the fire. No shortcuts, no nothing. Now, you don't have to overlord them every single day. You know, if you trusted them to do the job in the first place, unless they're going squirrely somehow, you shouldn't have to stand at the living room table and look at them like this all day long. Then you didn't hire the right person, okay? You did this to alleviate a huge burden and accomplish some property improvement that you wanted to do. Am I right? One other item that I did not cover earlier, and I want to make sure I mention it, is anybody who has employees, they should be carrying a workers' compensation insurance program. You do not want to have somebody snap their leg in a trench. Their company doesn't have workers' comp. And guess who they're going to sue for all their medical bills and their disability, okay? So don't forget, what workers' comp company do you carry, okay? Liability insurance should be at minimum 1 to 2 million coverages, okay? Aggregate coverages. And their bonding should be, depending on the size of the project, a general bond that would cover most, if not all. You're not a commercial company per se, so you're not worried about completion bonds and that kind of stuff. And lastly, if you choose to go with an illegal or unlicensed contractor, then all the results are on you. Good, bad, and ugly. If you hire an illegal contractor that's out there, maybe you decide to hire the kid down the street, or you hire the mow and blow guy in the neighborhood to do a $25,000 makeover, and the quality isn't there, you have no recourse. You can try and sue them if you want to try and sue them. I mean, you can. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, you can do that. But pay a couple extra dollars. Get somebody who is licensed, bonded, and insured, educated, and qualified to do the project you want. Don't go the illegal route. You know, it's just not worth the headache. You want to talk about lying awake at night and staring at the ceiling? Try doing that. Okay, hey, I hope you got something out of this. I really do. Hope you stuck it out to this part of the video. Don't forget to check out our 15-step DIY project checklist. It's there available. I have the ebook up on the website now. And Homescape 1.0, the digital landscaping DIY course, is available to you now. Okay? I appreciate your time. I really do. Check out the website listed right here. I hope you got something out of this. Questions and emails can always go flying, and I will catch you guys next Friday, every Friday. Thank you for staying with me. You guys take care.